One
Mm-hmm.
is my wife, and we both were Florida Supreme Court certified mediators and done training for companies when we both were professors many years ago. But we both have been in higher education for over 28 years. I've been a college dean, I've been a college vice president, and the last 7 years I was president of Johnson & Wales University's North Miami campus. But we were always doing consulting along the way, but we used to do it pro bono for community grassroots organizations and for some corporations in the Caribbean that work for USAID as well. And when I decided to transition out of higher education after 28 years, we started our firm again. This time we said we would do it as a capital business venture, and that's what we're doing. And we have contracts, but they've been commercial. We want to get into government so that we can have more long-term contracts that are more sustainable, that allows us to just scale enough where we can hire some of the consultants that we've been working with on our team full time.
Okay.
So that's my story. That's my 30-second story.
Well, thank you. We have I guess we have a small crowd, so you may get one-on-one today.
I like that. I like that.
Wonderful story. What's your end goal when it's all said and done? What's the end goal of the business?
In reference to what aspect?
You started this business. What's the end goal in 10 years?
Where I see us in 10 years is having it on autopilot, where we have our consultants are able to independently build their businesses through our firm and see their businesses thrive and grow. I'd like for us to be more philanthropic. That was one of our reasons for doing this. Financially, we've done well for ourselves and have been able to make very wise investments for ourselves. But so that was why we made this transition to go into consulting, so that we can build a firm up, create a model that allows us to build our team up, to provide financial freedom for our teams and for those that we interact with, and to have the wherewithal to, when we choose to do it, we find businesses that we could support to provide that philanthropic arm that will.
Well, we're going to show you how to build a sustainable business that's not necessarily just focused on one aspect. Most people coming into this space, and most startups and working with SBA's SBA's resource partners will have you to pigeonhole your business based on your skill set. And so what we teach you is how to become a CEO. Has nothing to do with your skill set in this space, and being able to transfer those skill sets into a business model that's going to be sustainable and to obtain contracts, regardless of what it is. Because when you start winning $1 million contracts, it has nothing to do with your skill set. Your goal is to find the people to manage the project. So thank you, Larry. We have Miss Williams just joined us. Lexington? Or is that Mel? Lexington or Williams? Lexington Williams. Please introduce yourself. And Mila, I see that you're back. Please unmute yourself and introduce. We'd like to know who we have in the house.
Hi, Miss Paula. Yes, I'm back because I was just so fired up about last week, and I enrolled into the program. I just had to get it again.
Okay, thank you. Miss Williams.
Yes, My name is Jaqueen Williams. I'm sorry, it's my daughter's, ever since COVID, when they had to do the on school, and I forgot to update the name. Yes, I also was on last weekend and also intrigued, and here I am again. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Again, we're hoping we have to have a minimum of 10 people to begin the cohort. And usually the pattern has been that they sign up the day before. So right now we currently only have 6 people for this cohort. So we need at least 4 more to sign up by Tuesday in order to effectively start that cohort, and we'll keep you posted. Okay. All right, let's get it
Sounds good.
Let's get it going. All right. Larry is new. And Larry, you're in Florida, and where are you all located?
I'm in New York.
Okay. And Larry, you're in Miami?
I'm in Fort Lauderdale. The firm is based out of Miami Lakes, but I have a home and resident in the DMV area. I live in Silver Spring.
Oh, okay. My step story.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's jump into this. We have a lot to cover. Again, I will consistently say that now is our time to begin to market in this space. Just based on this executive order that was issued in 2021, where the president is really trying to make it a better playing field for minority-owned businesses. And he's doing this in a couple of ways. He's mandating that these agencies' goals are increased, where he's wanting them to increase the amount to minority-owned businesses by 15% by 2025. He also is trying to encourage new businesses coming into this space so that they can start playing as new entrants. I always, again, like to start with my background. Originally, I'm from Asheville, North Carolina. After college, I went to the big city of Washington, D.C., and my first job was with a company doing events planning for a 8A company. And Larry, have you heard of the 8A program? I think Larry.
Yes, I have. I actually had started the application but then I decided to pursue the MBE certification through the National Minorities and Suppliers Council first.
Yes.
So we just got awarded that certification last week.
Okay. The 8A is a program to my heart because I know it is truly the game changer for my community and building generational wealth. My first job was with the company that was part of the 8A. And every 3 years, I went to a new 8A company on that same contract doing event planning, where I got to a point where I said, I can cut out the middleman and I can do this for myself. So in 1996, I started my first business. First year in business, I received my first $1 million contract. Second year, I applied into the 8A program, received my second $3 million contract, and the business continued to grow pretty quickly, where I had almost $15 million in contracts and almost 40 employees. And that's where the challenge began because I had no clue what I was doing. I went from a project manager to running a multi-million-dollar company in a short period of time. I had 2 business partners, one who felt like he could run all his personal expenses through the business. And the last straw for me was a $3,000 custom-made pinstripe suit with his initials going down the pinstripe. It's like, you have lost your mind. I had his account credit card audited. He in turn takes my assistant in the elevator, threatens her. I then terminate him. He then conspired with 2 employees to sue me and the other partner for sexual harassment. After 2 years of attorney fees, $125,000 in attorney fees, $100,000 to buy him out, I had no more operating cash, and I transferred $7 million of my contracts to another 8A company. I was recently, after I closed the business down in 2005, it really pushed me to my new passion because I realized no one was training us on how to manage a business on that level. So I volunteered as a score counselor for 2 years and created a government workshop program within that office in DC. I was actually the first Black female score counselor in that office. After 2 years of being there, running out of money, applied for a position with SBA, and I was hired in the Philadelphia district office. In that office, I was hired to service the businesses once they got into the program as the business opportunity specialist. But that office was also the office that processed the 8A application, which gave me an insight on what were they looking for? Why were they denying these applicants who were applying into the program? After 4 years of being there, I transferred to Atlanta and left there in 2015. While I was there, they required that we become certified as a contract specialist, which allowed me another perspective, meaning I understood how to run a business. I understood SBA's operations, but I wasn't quite sure how those agencies actually put that solicitation together for you to compete on. So that was the missing piece for me. I've trained more than 10,000 businesses on how to market to the federal government and have assisted small businesses to win really more than 300 million in contracts across various agencies. I've self-published a book called That's Crazy, Recognize Crazy and Run, and sort of documents the business, the first business. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. But my goal is that you don't have to go through what I went through. So in that first business, I created all these templates so we do not have to reinvent the wheel. So what are the small business challenges entering in this space? I would always host the workshops at SBA, and people will come in and they'll say, "Oh, great information, but we're not quite sure what to do with the information. How do I connect the dots?" And it's the same thing with these government agencies. No one understands SBA's rules and regulations except those who have worked in there. And I will consistently say, unless you worked on the inside of SBA, nobody understands their processes and how they operate. What are the challenges when attempting to win contracts in this space for small businesses? Often it's understanding the government's language, understanding their processes, understanding how to determine what certifications are required. Once you determine your certifications, well, what documentation will I need to apply for those certifications? So the government websites also are not connected. Everybody operates in a silo. No one talks to each other. So that's where a lot of the confusion comes into play, which allowed me to create my program on federal procurement. And it's a combination of being based, it's a combination of what I learned at SBA for 7 years and working with 90 businesses. It's based on that first business. And what I tell businesses in this space, the first thing you want to do is not limit your business. As I said, everyone tends to start their business on their skill set. And I did the same thing in that first business. I started marketing my business as an event planning company. And my mentor pulled me aside and said, "Why are you pigeonholing yourself?" And when he said that, it made sense based on those 6 companies that I'd gone through and looking at those that were successful, and made me change my business model and became a management consulting firm. Because in this space, everybody's management consulting. So based on that, I created divisions. I now had an event planning division. I had an IT division. I had a publication division, and I had a database division, because I was working with various vendors and consultants to complete those jobs, to perform on the events. So why not just spread it out and start offering it to the government? After I did that, I started winning contracts in those areas. After I won that first $1 million contract, I was no longer doing events. I had staff. So understanding how to not pigeonhole yourself in this space. Understanding that collaboration is also key. All of these programs, all of these contracts require you to partner. Understand the power of collaboration. So in our second module, we put you into teams and teach you how to collaborate. We're better in numbers than we are being isolated. In the first, where I was talking about do not limit your business, we teach you how to build out a business model that's not on your skill set, and you're doing the market research so that you can find the money yourself. Secondly, you must have the infrastructure in place. Larry, what do I mean by infrastructure? I'm gonna pick on you since the other ones were there last week.
The operational, the internal operations. So that's the foundations. Accounting has to be in place, the financial plan has to be in place, the marketing strategy has to be in place, the people that you need to get the actual work done, a business plan, I think that's what you mean, business plan.
Yes, I do. Your accounting, legal, you heard me get sued.
That's right.
I got sued. So I tell businesses, once you obtain employees, you need to make sure that you have employment practice liability insurance. Had I had that insurance, that would have covered my lawsuit. That's an insurance policy that's outside of the 8A program. I mean, outside of your general insurance policy. That would have covered my lawsuit. So when you look at the federal government, it operates on a fiscal year. Its fiscal year is from October 1st to September 30th. And so what generally happens is before their budget is passed, they're operating on what they call a continuing resolution, meaning they're operating on a limited budget. So there's a peak time to market to the agency and a downtime to market to the agency. The peak time is generally between October and I say up until March, because most of these agencies have not received their funding. So they're over there twirling their hands. I knew when I worked at SBA, it was very slow. Come April through September, they're trying to get rid of money. The closer they get the closer they're to September, no one's trying to talk to you. They're trying to get rid of the money. So your goal is to build relationships. And the way you build relationships is through various mechanisms that we'll talk about shortly. Why federal contracts? Every year, contracts are set aside for small businesses. 23% are set aside just for small businesses, 5% for women-owned small businesses, 5% for small disadvantaged businesses and 8A participants, 3% if you're service disabled, 3% for HubZone. And so what that means for you, the more certifications you have, the more you're helping the agency achieve their goals. As an example, if an agency awarded you a contract for $100,000 and you're a small business, that agency now gets credit of $100,000 towards their goal. If you are a small business and a woman-owned, now that agency gets $200,000 credit towards their goal. So the more certifications you have, the more you're helping that agency achieve their goals. SBA keeps a scorecard over all of the agency and publicize it. So you can see over here, there's a lot of money that was awarded in the previous fiscal year. They haven't updated this, the last fiscal year scorecard. But we look at this as a strategy, maybe targeting those agencies that did not meet their goals. But I also want you to take note of this program, the Small Disadvantaged Business, or 8A. They're one and the same. And you can see the amount of dollars that went to that program alone, $59 billion, which is already up to almost 11%. And it tells a story as we go through here. And again, I focus on the 8A program because it's the program to my heart. I know this is a program that can create the generational wealth for our children's children. The 8A, on this PowerPoint, what I've done is identified the agencies and the dollar amount of contract awards that they awarded under this program in fiscal year 20. And it was a whole lot of money, as you can see. The same thing as it relates to the industry. And I bring this out because what we try to help you to do is create a marketing strategy on where the money is falling, not necessarily on your skill set. Because your goal as the CEO is to find the people to work on the contracts. Is that making sense?
Yes.
Yes, it does. It does. Thank you.
Okay. What you see here is a report that came from SBA. And this report tells a story to me. It tells a huge story. When I started with SBA in 2008, at that point, they had almost 10,000 businesses that were part of this program. You can see, based on this report from the OIG, there's only 4,900 businesses in this program. And you saw what the amount was. So in the previous slide, and they're telling you here, this is how much was awarded to these 4,900 businesses across the state. In this program. No competition. And a whole lot of money, no competition. And I personally refuse to believe that we have more than 4,900 businesses nationally that can qualify into this 8A program and become a success. And I knew that working at SBA, meaning when I was at SBA, I had a portfolio of 40 businesses. Out of the 40 businesses, maybe 5 or 6 was truly active, and only 4 active, meaning winning contracts. And what I realized when I left the DMV area, people outside of DMV have no clue. When I was in Pennsylvania, there was only 72 businesses that was in that program. When I was in here in Atlanta, you can see the numbers. So when you look at this pie chart, what does this pie chart tell you, Larry? I'm gonna pick on you. Does that
let me take a look. It's showing in Georgia that 172 firms were assigned to AA, the 8A.
In this pie chart, what does that say?
Oh, 70% of
contracts were awarded to businesses outside of the state.
outside of Georgia. So Georgia is only 30%.
And which means 30, but only the math here, it was only a few out of this portfolio that was really winning contracts. That tells a story.
So out of 172 8A organizations out of the state of Georgia, only 30%, or is it saying 30% of the 172 were from Georgia?
30% of the 172 were in the portfolio, and 30% of the 172 were the ones winning the contract. No competition.
Yeah, none at all.
And here in Georgia, you have CDC and 5 military bases. Wherever there's a military base, there's a federal contract. Same thing what I looked at Alabama. This is the number of businesses that are in that portfolio. But they're doing a little better. But again, I refuse to believe in the state of Alabama that there are no more than 58 Black-owned businesses that can qualify into this program. It makes no sense to me. The numbers are off. Same thing in Florida. Florida, they're doing pretty good, but most of it is dominated by my Hispanic brothers and sisters. Black-owned businesses aren't in their plan. So we've got to do better for our future. So, Mr. Rice, congratulations on your MBEs. And for me, I'm going to talk completely different. What I realized when I was working at SBA, they and our resource partners, everyone will tell you, start local, start at your state level, get your MBEs, all the E's, DBEs, MBEs, WBEs, and then go to the federal. And I completely disagree. I completely disagree is because you don't know who the players are, you don't know how much money they have, and you're competing with a whole lot more people in that area. Whereas on the federal side, there's no reason that you cannot compete. The federal government set aside contracts specifically for small businesses that are 250,000 and below. And if you look at the numbers up here, what you're going to find consistently is that there's not enough small businesses out there competing. So you're generally only competing with 1 or 2 or 3 businesses. Not that I don't want that those dollars on a state and local area, but I'm trying to minimize my competition. So start at the state, at the federal and come down. Get the past performance on that area, in that space. And again, I'm showing you an opportunity that came out that's strictly in the financial area, just because it's providing legal services support. I do not need to know anything about this contract to find the players to service it. Am I hitting home yet?
Can you say that again?
I don't need to find it. I don't need to be attorney to find a team of experts to manage this contract.
Agreed. Okay. Okay.
That's your goal,
Yeah.
is to find the people. Same thing with here. These are some of the low-hanging fruit that I say that you can go after. When you look at this particular opportunity, when you look at what they're asking for, it's not that much to get your feet in the door, right? This is the low-hanging fruit. All they want you to do is go through the files, box them up, categorize, digitize them and scan them if you do well. This is how you begin to get your feet wet. Same thing here. Do I have to be a caterer to go after this opportunity, since we have other people's joining us? That's a question. Do I have to be a caterer?
Definitely not.
And what would you do?
You would identify. You would have to identify the right caterer. So
and send them this number in California. And this is how you put your costs on top of their numbers. Not that complicated. This is how we begin to employ our community. So to play in this space, you have to self-certify in SAM, which I call such a mess. You can self-certify as a small business. I need to update this. The Service Disabled Veteran-Owned and Veteran-Owned program now is under SBA, but you can still self-certify in those programs and self-certify as a small disadvantaged business. Once you become into the 8A program, you're automatically classified as a SDB. The formal certification programs, meaning you have to submit an application to SBA and be approved by SBA. One is a business development program, and it truly is a business development program that you're in for 9 years. The Hub Zone program is designed to build communities. And then they just recently made the women own a formal certification, and the veterans have now just been transferred over to SBA. Do I have any veterans? Why I say this is a program to my heart? I don't want people to get in it until they at least have a strategy. You're only in it one time. While you're in it, it allows you to go to any federal agency and they can award what they call sole source contracts up to $4 million with no competition. That's how they're building your business. The whole program was designed to give you a competitive edge after you graduate in the 9 years. It's based primarily on 2 areas: whether you're socially and economically disadvantaged. The Hub Zone program is based on where your business is located. and where your employees are located. So the whole purpose of that program is to build communities. I like to equate it to what Magic Johnson did what Magic Johnson did in the urban areas. He partnered with Starbucks and the movie theaters built within those communities and hired within those communities. It's the same concept. For the 8A program, it's primarily based on these two areas, whether you're socially disadvantaged and economically disadvantaged. As long as you're a member of any one of these ethnic groups, you automatically meet the social component. If you're not a member and you're able to prove that you've been discriminated against, you also can qualify and meet the social disadvantage component. The economic is based on your net worth. Your net worth cannot exceed $850,000 minus any equity in your home and any equity in your business. What will count against you is if you have rental property. If you, Mr. Rice, I heard you retired, and SBA will look at if you're retired, can you access that? What can you liquidate? That's what's going to be applied towards that $850,000.
Okay.
And your
The good news, I can't access it because I'm only 53.
Okay, very good. We like that. And the other thing, what I would be doing is, I'm not sure how your structure is set up. Are you with your wife part owner? How are y'all structured?
My wife is 51% owner. And our other partner, who is Hispanic, is 15% owner. I'm the rest. So my wife is 51%, and I'll say it, she's Black American. And our partner, who's Hispanic, has 15% of ownership.
That's good. Speaking from experience and myself, that's going to be a headache.
Well, tell me why. Tell me why.
Just because anything you do in that business, everybody got to agree. I had the partnership. And what I would recommend personally for everyone is that each of you create your own entity and have it 100%, because what that does is now allow all of you all to have the opportunity to go through the 8A program and get 9 years of sole source contracts. I mean, that might be a little bit too much for you right now, but that's what my thought process is for you. Okay. Larry went silent on me. That's okay.
Oh no, I'm here. I'm just taking in what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. It was my wife's firm, and I joined her firm after I retired from higher education for 28 years. So it's her firm. She built it up, and I joined it because we'd worked together for over 20 years doing consulting work together, and so this was an opportunity to
expand it. Build it out.
And that's what we're trying to do. And we want to bring others along with us over time.
Okay, so when you're applying into the program, that means every year, that's why I say it becomes a headache. All three of y'all have to provide your personal financial statements, tax returns. I have to do, as I'm the person that you're assigned to once you get into the program. And I have to do a deep dive. They're going to do a deep dive in all three applicants because they're trying to determine who's in your who's in your house and what's your role and who's really controlling that business. So it's been very strategic. And again, I don't push businesses into that program until they're ready and understand the game so that you're not wasting time. Ideally, I would like for you to have a mentor first and then go into the program utilizing SBA's All Small Mentor Protege program, because now that allows you to walk into the door with juice. The other component of
Ms.
this,
Watts,
yes, ma'am.
that experience that you mentioned, I agree with you. The MBE certification was just as grueling. We had to provide all the tax documentation, housing, our whole lives to them for all three of the partners for the firm.
It's the same.
Yeah,
It's gonna be the-
it was
Huh?
taxing, but it was taxing for us, but I made sure that as we did it, that we set up the records so that if we had to repeat that, it wouldn't be as difficult to set the next time.
It's gonna be the same thing.
Okay.
We're gonna do all of that, all of that. The other component to this program allows, if you have a record, but you're not on probation or parole, you can start a business and apply into this program. And for me, this is another way to change the course of those individuals who have touched that just us system and to give them a way to economically support their family. The HubZone program applies over to 3,000, over buys that are 3,000. There's no term limit associated with this program. You're recertified every year. In this program, you're allowed to get the same type of sole source contracting and competitive contracting. The difference in this program and the 8A program is in order for an agency to award a contract as a sole source in this program, you have to have at least 2 businesses that are qualified. That's called the rule of 2. So what I tell businesses is that that are in the program, connect with another HubZone program, and both of you, participant, and both of you submit on the same bid, but you cut your deals beforehand. If I win, I'll subcontract to you. If you win, I'll subcontract to you. So what you're trying to do is force the agency to award it as a sole source to one of the 2 to eliminate the remaining competition. That makes sense? All right. In this program, again, 35% of your employees must live in a HubZone, and your principal office must be, not necessarily a corporate office. It's based on where the greatest number of employees report. For instance, I had a firm in here in Georgia, had a corporate office in Cobb County, which is a high-end community, but he had an office, a HubZone office in Columbus, Georgia, where he had a contract at that military base. So he was able to get that particular office qualified as a HubZone office. If you want to see whether or not your business, or if it's a home-based business, is located in it, you can scan this code, and this is the map that you can put in the address. And I did this one for Philadelphia, and you can see in Philadelphia where the HubZone areas are located. And which is funny, you just go across the street, like in Chinatown, 9th Street, it's not a HubZone. Right inside the center city, it is. So HubZone is driven by location. So if it's around a university, they're gonna take in the college kids. It's based on where the address is. And the confusing problem is there's 3 databases that SBA is working with. For the Hub Zone program, you apply into the general login system, which is a completely different database. For the A2A program, you apply into certified.sba.gov. For the women's program, you now go to wosb.certified.sba.gov. This program, again, is still relatively new. You can self-certify, and I recommend self-certifying yourself because you still have to give them the information to upload in the database. So go ahead and do it yourself. And this is part of the program. We walk you through the documentation of what's required to qualify into these programs. No minimum amount of time. You must be 51% owned, hold a long-term decisions, work full-time in that business. And that can, based on the industry, that can vary. If it's a janitorial company or IT, you can say I'm working full-time and not necessarily defining it as your normal working hours. What SBA is going to look for are your tax returns. They're looking at the W-2s to determine what's going on in your life. I tell people you cannot lie to the government. I had access to things that you didn't have access to. And their taxes tell your story, tells a big story. The Veterans Program, again, is still just been transferred over as of this year. This is the code. What they've done, thank goodness, is they brought a lot of the VA employees that were processing the applications onto SBA staff. The benefits, the same thing. You get the rule of 2. They also are going to grandfather those who have already self-certified up to December of this year. Again, the eligibility requirements pretty much consistent across most of the programs, the 51% ownership. Again, they going to give you a 3-year certification period once you're in it. What I recommend, again, is that you go to their website and they have all the information and documentation that you're going to need to apply into that program. Before I get into the class, is that I wanted to go over some of these websites. Again, sam.gov is the website that you use to find opportunities, but I like this website a little better because it's a lot more user-friendlier than sam.gov. When I go in here and let's say in New York, is that where, did I hear, it's Mila?
Yeah,
Right?
Lexington, that's my daughter, Jaqueen Williams. I'm here in New York, in Brooklyn.
Okay, let's see what's in New York. So here is telling you contracts that are currently out in the month of New York. I mean, in the month of March that are out here. Right here, this is an industry day where you get to go meet the buyers. Right here, do I need to be a courier? No, you're just going to find a courier. This is the low-hanging fruit that I'm talking about. But this is set aside for a service-disabled veteran. So it's understanding what's out there, what's been in your area. And again, Mr. Rice, wouldn't this qualify, you would think, in your DEI, the Employee Assistance Program?
Yes, ma'am.
That all falls in it and in your area. It's just us helping you understand the language that the government is using in these opportunities. So you're matching them. So
Yeah.
all of this right here, again, to me, is the low hanging fruit. They need catering services at the consent. It's a concession contract. These are the things that are out there for this month. And again, as you get closer to September, these numbers increase. Over here, it identifies a forecast. So that's present. This right here is future. Every agency is going to have a forecast where they're going to identify what they anticipate spending for that for that fiscal year. I like HUD because HUD updates their information every month. So when you go into HUD, they're going to tell you who the players are. They're going to tell you how to do work. But reason I like HUD is because they break it down in the areas of support. So when you're looking here, that's all administration. This is a new contract just for total small business. And Deborah Lawrence is the person that's on it. So you get to reach out to Deborah before it comes out in June and get prepared on how you're going to compete on this. You can reach out to Ms. Lawrence at Wilson and ask her, how many plaques are you anticipating you'll need on this opportunity when it comes out? So now you're ahead of the game and have your numbers already ready before it comes out. Yes? Mm-hmm. Same thing here. This is all HR, human capital officing, right? It's again looking at what's out there and what can you compete on and how do you potentially collaborate with others. It's understanding the game. The other website, which we heavily use as a strategy session, strategy, so that you don't have to, that you are now understanding how your dollars are being spent. And this allows you to see how these agencies have awarded contracts previously. So if I go over here, I can look and see what type of contracts are being awarded in my industry. Mr. Rice, what was your NAICS code, your industry code for what you're selling right now? Do you have it?
I do. I have, it's 6611430.
And what I'm going to recommend is that you all change your industry code to 541611 because you're pigeonholing yourself. You can have that as your secondary code.
I have that one also. I think I have 3. I have 4.
Now we're going to make you have 20.
Okay.
20 to 30. Now
Okay.
you're pigeonholing yourself.
Okay.
Total small business. Let's look there. So now I've narrowed it down to total small business in that industry under that NAICS code. Again, that NAICS code is a catch-all, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily just diversity and inclusion.
Yeah.
So you can see what types of contracts are being awarded. So we help you to create a strategy around contracts based on what's out there, if that makes sense. Yeah. And then in our database, our goal is to create a community. We have almost 2,000 people. How many is in here now? It's almost 2,000 people in this database. And what I'll consistently say is we should never have to leave the house, because now we have people across the states, as we're looking for opportunities, that have gone through the program that we can reach out to. My whole goal when I left SBA was to replace SBA. I think big, and I want you all to think big. But in here is the format where now we understand the power of collaboration and how we can reach out and work with each other collectively. We no longer can afford to compete with each other. That makes sense? Can
Yes,
I get
it does.
Totally,
Mhm,
totally
mhm,
makes sense.
It does.
Okay, so the program is now 18 weeks. I've just cut it down to again make it more comprehensive and really put you all on steroids so that you can start competing and being ready while you're in the program and before Christmas season. Although some, even like you, Larry, you've already done some of these things, I still require everyone to start at the same place, because you don't know what SBA is going to be looking for as you're applying into these programs. So, and you're building up a business model that's not necessarily going to pigeonhole you in one aspect. My goal is that you're able to get the most bang for your money. So don't pigeonhole yourself. So we teach you how to create a business model that's going to be sustainable in this space that's not necessarily based on your skill set. The second module is all about partnerships, collaborating, understanding how to team. We put you into teams and you have team deliverables. We make it as real and practical as possible, because that's what's going to take when you really get out there and start dealing with individuals in this space. And the contract ready, the program is based on, that module is strictly around the All Small Mentor Protege program and the 8A program. What I've done throughout the program is, from that first business, I created templates so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You'll see what a winning proposal should look like. You'll have templates for responding to notices. You'll have templates so you'll see what your marketing materials should look like. The next class will start our cohort. Again, we have to have a minimum of 10 people to start the cohort. Again, we currently have 6 who are paid registered. We'll start, if we have 10, Tuesday from 8 to 9:30 p.m. It's an hour and a half. It's recorded each week. If you miss it, you can go back and listen. Every week, you're going to have at least in the first module, you're going to have lab and homework assignments. But we offer office hours on Tuesdays and lab support on Thursdays. So these are the items that you would be, some of the items that you would be expected to complete in your first module. This is how we help you build out your module. So it does not just look like it's a one-man show. So looking at these two, this doesn't look like a one-man business, does it? It's the perception. And this is the team deliverables, where again, we bring people together. They have their team projects that they have to present at the end of the module. That includes all of these items. And what we're doing is helping you create a marketing strategy. We're going ahead and getting you well prepared for when you're ready to start competing and strategizing. And then here, I'm actually updating this. I'm not going to require people to do the the RFP. I want you to focus more so on that business plan because that's going to be your guiding tool as you enter into this space. And this is our QR code. If you need more information, this is how you can reach me. And I thank you. I have any questions? You have any questions, Larry?
No, this was, you were quite thorough. I appreciate, your insights and everything that you shared. This was informative. As I mentioned, you came highly recommended by someone who they knew your story and they mentioned it to me. I said, I'd like to, so I Googled you and saw that you had this class coming up. So I registered for it so I could, one, meet you. And, I think your story is fascinating, very proud of you and what you've done in your career. And I think you're just an excellent model.
Well, our goal is to change the future, and I need you guys to get in, and so that we can have a sustainable community for our children's children. Mala and Lexington, did y'all have any feedback and comments?
I'm Mila. I'm excited. That's why I thought I should just jump onto this one again. I've been absent since last week, and you're making a difference, Miss Paula. I am going to spread the word if we can get more cohorts, so we can,
Please.
cohorts, so we can get this going. Yeah, but thank you for even sharing this. Both Jaquina and I work for a bank in New York. I live in Georgia, but we both work for a bank in New York, and just this information alone that you're giving is going to go a long way, as you're saying, just to create generational wealth. And we're thinking of our kids as we're looking at doing this, as we're thinking not for us more so, but for our children and their children. So thank you for gathering all the information into one spot to be able to help us look after our children. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's one step, it's a building block. That's how we set up the program. One step at a time. And everyone initially come in excited, then they get overwhelmed when they have to do the work. But I tell people, just stick with it. And that's why we have the office hours. And I love the office hours because it allows the other classes to come in and provide their insight on where they are. So it's all about us supporting each other. We no longer can afford to compete against each other. We've got to come together because the other side is coming together hard. And then unless we get some money into our community, we cannot fight. They're changing the game. And I refuse to sit down and let it happen. No. So I'm going to keep kick and scream and push it as long as I can.
Thank you, Miss Paula.
You're welcome. In Lexington, let me hear your feedback.
I'm sorry. I definitely enjoyed the session last week and again this week. Yes, it's Mela and I that work together at a bank in New York. And she's the one that told me about you last week. And again, I joined you this week and I'm super excited. And I will be a part of the cohort family. I'm just truly excited.
Nobody is teaching us, you know what I mean?
That's
or
for
they're
sure.
trying to charge us crazy money to get this information. And my goal is to get the government to give me a contract, and this training is free. But I'm a business that have to survive. And bringing in our children. I have a protege, she's about 50 million in contract. She now has her son. He started his business. She getting ready to graduate from the program. Now the son is lined up to be 8A. This is how we run this game and keep it going. All right. Well, with that being said, that concludes the day, and thank you guys for sharing your Saturday morning with me. And I look forward to you becoming a part of the GPI community.
Thank you, Ms. Paula.
Ms. Paul, before you go, how do we get an invoice? How do we know how we're able to sign up?
If you send me, you all are gonna do, I did say I had the team.
Okay,
So
so
you-
send this email to the PWATS.
Yes, send me a invoice in the 2 team member, if you're doing the teaming package, send that to me and I can split it. Or you can register online. It's set up for the teams online. You go to, upcoming classes.
Okay.
And if you register, it has a slot for the 2 members.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right. All right, then. You all have a great one. If you have any other questions, you can feel free to reach out.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Watts.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, you too. Bye-bye.